Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me today. So I'm enjoying this lovely weather, and I thought, I had been thinking of talking about exercising for women over 40s, and I just found this right time to do that right now. So I really want to talk about, the exercising pattern of women in their 40s, especially because I'm a yoga teacher at a yoga studio, rather a fitness studio, and I see that a lot of women in their 40s, 50s, even 60s are very intensely working on themselves. I know a few people, rather a few women in that age group, working out 2 hours continuously, 3 hours continuously, gymming around. Even if they're doing exercising, it's more intense forms that they're doing. And so I sometimes think that exercising is great for us, but nobody ever talks about what kind of exercising is great for different age groups. So this is what I want to talk about, especially exercising for women starting in their late 30s to their 40s and 50s, because your exercising pattern must change during these years. And why am I saying so? I'll be coming up with certain internal factors. I'll be talking of those factors to help you understand why you should be focusing or thinking of strategically designing your exercising in those years, especially as you get into your perimenopausal years. So before I start talking, I really want to talk about my own journey. I have been into yoga for almost about 15 years now. So when I started my yoga practice, of course, I was doing my teacher's training. And when you're doing your teacher's training, you're supposed to work intensely on yourself. Thankfully, when I started my yoga practice, I was in my early 30s and I had all that energy. My hormones were supporting me. I could manage to do those intense forms of exercising, maybe doing 3 hours of intense yoga practice based on some intensely, designed yoga forms like Ashtanga Vinyasa. I have done that in my earlier years. But over time, as I got into my late 30s and then 40s, I realized that the similar exercising patterns were not working anymore for me. I wasn't aware that, why is it not working? Because in my early 30s, when I was doing the same exercising or same yoga forms, I used to feel really nice. I used to feel energetic. I had all the energy to carry on my day. But the same yoga practices, intense yoga practices, somehow started making me feel more tired in my later 30s and early 40s. I couldn't understand why at that time, but gradually, as I got deeper into yoga practices, as I connected back with my learnings in diet and scientific understanding of what happens in your perimenopausal years, because that's where you get interested into your what's going on with you when you actually experience what's going on in your perimenopausal years. So that's where I actually first started to realize that these exercises, when I slow down my exercises, I feel really good. But when I get into very intense forms, somewhere, it doesn't feel good to me. So what are the scientific validations around what I'm saying? Before that, I also want to talk about one of my client who was in her early 40s. She came to me for a dietary consultation, but she was very intensely working out. And she was very she was from from Mumbai, and she really wanted to maintain her own body. She was not ready to come to the terms that with age the body changes, and to maintain that body she wanted to be into that intense exercising, intense gymming. She was working out 4 hours a day, 2 hours intensely in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. And the health conditions that she came to me with were very severe migraine. She used to faint because of her migraine very often. She had been through Botox treatments on her body. So she was into anything and everything that could make her look and feel younger at that age, and in the coming years. But she did not realize that somewhere the same things that she was doing to maintain herself were aging her much faster, were adding on to her health conditions. So when she came to me for the consultation and I just went through her routine and her diet, the very first thing that I pointed out, even before I pointed out her diet, I told her that you need to really ease out on your exercising patterns. But she was conditioned to work out 4 hours a day, and she was not ready to give up onto that. So she changed everything in her diet. She found many changes happening to her body, her bloating going away, her body becoming more toned with the diet. But somehow her migraine was still there. She found some relief there, but on that was like very minimal compared to what she could have achieved if she would have gone down on that intense yoga practices that she was doing. So, but after much conditioning, about say it took me about 1 month or so to kind of convince her that okay, let's try for a week and 10 days and just minimize onto our exercising patterns and see how it works for you. And if it doesn't, you can anytime go back to your 4 hours of workout every day. So within 10 days, we reworked on her exercising pattern. We minimized her from 4 hours to 1 hour of intense exercising a day, and 1 hour of, if she still wanted to do some exercising, 1 hour of hatha yoga practices, and about 45 minutes of pranayama and slow down practices every single day. So within 10 days, she realized that her migraine started to come down quite a bit. As she used to faint with her migraine, these episodes actually started to come down. Rather, the intensity started to come down, which is what she was more happy about. So I have been through my own journey of realizing how intense exercising forms, yoga practices in your 40s, in your perimenopausal years and your menopausal years, is not the right approach for exercising for women. And it's not just a realization that came to me because of my own health, but it also came to me as a part of the consultations that I have been taking with women in that specific age group. So okay, so now we know that intense exercising does not work really well with a lot of women at that age. But if not this, then what? Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. So now, you should still be exercising. If you want, you can exercise 2 hours a day. You can practice 3 hours a day, especially if you're a yoga teacher. You need to spend that much of a time exercising. But the right approach to do that now, since I'm also a yoga teacher, I spend that much of a time exercising myself. But my practices now are more oriented towards more slow down practices, especially oriented towards the hatha yoga practices, where if I'm working say for 1 hour of a yoga practice, that would be a very slow form, a form where I hold into my asanas for a longer time, and such practices will also be merged along with some breathing practices and some stillness practices together. So when you slow down, when you bring in breath or prana, you start to bring about that energy in the body by working on your prana through your breath work, and you learn to still down, because that prana needs, that energy needs that stillness to work inside the body. That combination of slowing down, prana and stillness is way more powerful than any kind of intense yoga practices that you may be doing in your daily lifestyle. So now, from the scientific perspective, why we should be slowing down on our exercising or yoga practices in our perimenopausal years. The very first reason is, as you get into your 35 plus, starting onwards that, but you may still have a little more energy during that time. But as you get into your 40s, your strength starts to go down. Now, when I say strength, I don't mean the mental or the emotional strength. What I'm talking about is the capability of the body to be able to bear strength starts to come down, simply because your muscle mass starts to decline automatically. Why that is happening? Of course, aging, that's one. Secondly, there's something called muscle atrophy. Now, muscle atrophy is a concept that it's a natural aging process that will happen. The only way you can stop muscle atrophy, or which means melting down of your muscles, the declining of your muscles, that starts to make your body become a little leaner, but you start to lose out onto that plumpiness, onto those muscles, and you start to show up more on the bony side than on the muscular side. So your muscles give you strength. Combination of muscles and your skeletal framework together is responsible for strength inside the body. Now, when the muscles start to decline in your perimenopausal years, and that's also a scientific process, a natural process, because your main feminine hormones, estrogen and progesterone, naturally start to decline at that specific age. Now, when estrogen and progesterone naturally are declining, these hormones keep supporting your muscular strength as well. So when these hormones naturally are declining, automatically there's going to be some muscle atrophy coming into your body naturally. The only way which is scientifically proven to support your muscle mass is through exercising and through right consumption of good rich protein, protein rich foods. But having said that, if you're very high on protein rich foods and not consuming and not exercising or not working on strength training or not working on declining your muscle atrophy, that protein alone is not going to help you. Rather, it was going to cause you much toxicity inside. So that protein will start harming you if you're not working out. So that makes working out really important at that specific age, rather at that, at every age. But since I'm talking about women in their 40s, so I'll focus more on importance of protein and exercise during that time. So good quality of protein, I very highly bank on plant protein. I am a completely vegan person, and I have been able to maintain my muscles with that plant protein. Not because I'm consuming protein, but because I'm very intensely working on my muscular health with yoga, not with any other exercising form. So doing a lot of strength bearing yoga practices, especially practicing specific yoga form, the Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga form, which really helps you build your strength. Now, a lot of women at that age, like the example of this client that I just mentioned, who really wanted to stay petite in her 40s and had gone through different treatments, was working like 4 hours, working out 4 hours a day. Her entire focus was on slimming down. Now, slimming, there's a difference between strength and slimming down. When you're working on strength training, you are least bothered about, becoming slim or petite. Your focus is to have a toned body, even if you have a little broader body, that you're okay with that. But when you want to be slim, you really want to be slim. You really want to, shrink yourself down. But that shrinkage in your 40s and 50s is not going to work well with you in your later years. It's going to make you weak. It's going to impact your bone health. It's going to impact your muscular health. It's going to impact your aging really drastically. So at that specific age, what is important for you is to focus on strength building rather than slimming down. Now, strength building, you can use any form. You can use gymming, you can practice weight training, you can get into these intense yoga forms like the Vinyasa yoga forms, or maybe yoga which offers you some strength bearing, using your own body as as the weight to lift up, like headstand or a handstand is a strength bearing practice. Warrior poses is a strength bearing practice. Balance postures is a strength bearing practice. That all of these help you build strength from the inside out. So focusing on building strength in your 40s will support your muscle health, will decline the muscle atrophy that may happen because of the declining of your hormones at that age. It will not just support your hormones, it will not just support your muscles, it's going to support each and every function in the body. It's going to support your muscle mass, which again starts to decline as you get into your perimenopausal and menopausal years, again because of the those changes in your hormones. It's going to support your appearance. It's going to make you look and feel much more younger than your biological age. It's going to make you feel more strong. It's going to support your energy. It's going to support your maybe the hunger cravings or those emotional eats that you may suffer because of those hormonal up and down at that age. So focusing on your muscle, toning up your body versus focusing on slimming down is a great step to practice in your 40s or in your perimenopausal years. Now, the second reason why you should be changing your exercising approach in your 40s is also because your hormones are declining, which I've already spoken about, but I would really want to go a little deeper into that. Now, when your hormones are declining, it's having an impact everywhere. It's having an impact on your mental health, it's impacting your emotional health, a lot of emotional burst outs. It's also impacting your physiology, the way your body is functioning from inside, which means in your previous years, if it was easy for you to lose weight, it becomes really difficult, or it becomes double the effort for you to lose weight in those years, because your hormones that support all of these functions are naturally declining. Now, if you have a good muscular mass in the body, that naturally consumes energy, and when muscles start to consume energy, you automatically are able to maintain the body that you want. So it's an indirect way of maintaining your body and your appearance by building up your muscles. Your muscles automatically need energy. They consume energy as you work out, so they will start to convert your fat into muscle, ending up in toning up your body. So That's, I would say, that's the last benefit that you would receive. Before that, you will receive n number of other benefits by working on your muscular health in your perimenopausal and menopausal years. It'll help you, as I said, building up your energy. It'll help you stay more healthy and focused. It will help your bone mass or your skeletal health in the long run. It'll support your hormones. So everywhere it's going to really help you focus on building up your muscles at that age. Now, apart from that, when it comes to working out in your 40s and 50s, various other areas that you should be focusing on is your pelvic work. Now, pelvic work is very important for females in their 40s, perimenopausal years and menopausal years. Yoga has a lot of focus. When yoga talks about women's health, it very deeply talks about working on your pelvic health. Simply because, like, physically, if you think about it, our reproductive organs, for the females, our reproductive organs are housed in the pelvic cavity. They are sealed in the pelvic cavity, and your reproductive organs need a lot of nourishment, a lot of blood, fresh oxygen, fresh nutrition reaching to those areas of the body. And for that, you need to really work on your pelvic area, because until and unless your pelvis is more flexible, the flexibility, the circulation in your reproductive organs cannot reach properly. So you really need to be focusing on your pelvic health in your perimenopausal and menopausal years. Some of the good practices for pelvic health, of course, are Kegel practices. This is a specific form of exercising pattern that you can follow that really helps you tighten up your pelvic muscles. You can do that with some expert because it's an internal work. So you need somebody who can really guide you right to be able to reach, to be able to target those specific muscles, which can help you keep your pelvic health in order. Apart from that, from the yoga perspective, since I'm more of a yoga person, some of the practices for pelvic health that would really help you would include bridge postures, practices that really help you open up your hips. So a lot of forward bends, bridge posture, as I said, is a good one for pelvic work, and various other practices that help you work majorly on the lower body versus the upper body. So pelvic work, an absolute must in your perimenopausal and menopausal years. And then when you're exercising, I'll again go back to the example of one of the clients that I just mentioned, whom I was working with in her perimenopausal years, and who was very obsessive about her workout and her exercising, working out 4 hours a day. So what we did was, we did reduce her exercising time by 1 hour, but we did not reduce her exercising drastically. It was like from 4 hours, I made her move to about 3 hours, but those 3 hours were designed in a way that were not causing a lot of heat in the body and not a lot of activity and movement in the body. So what we need to understand is, your 40s and 50s are the time when you really need to slow down. You really need to bring about or focus on bringing about that balance in your body and in your mind. And if you're only working in one direction without focusing on the other, if you're only working on activity, not focusing on rest, it's going to give you a lot of other imbalances in the body. Also, because your hormones are declining. Again, the concept goes back to your hormones. Your estrogen and progesterone are automatically declining at that specific age. And if you are focused a lot on activity, moving, too much of being active, the rest area of the body gets suffered. And when your rest area of the body gets suffered, your hormones, estrogen and progesterone, automatically will be imbalanced. So indirectly, we reach to a conclusion that when you're exercising, it has to be a balance of activity and rest. So if you really want to bring in some intense exercising patterns, I would more focus on, from the yoga perspective, I would really want to focus on Vinyasa yoga forms, the Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga forms, or the yoga forms driven from Ashtanga Vinyasa pattern, because it still has some sense of tradition coming in with that practice. Otherwise, you can practice power yoga, which is also going to help you build up those muscles and stay active, and kind of help you stay with the kind of practices that you would want to do from the more active perspective. Having said that, with that, it is very important that you bring about some element of deep rest and relaxation with that practice, preferably with every practice. So how we designed this client's yoga practice was, if it is 1 hour of a yoga practice or an exercising form, and if she's spending say 2 hours in the morning and 1 hour in the evening, 2 hours in the morning, 1 hour is going to be intense, and the other 1 hour either is going to be slow yoga practices or driven the hatha yoga practices or yin yoga practices or restorative yoga practices where you are still moving, but you're still you are exercising still in a stillness form. And in the evening, not focusing much on tiring your body or activating your body more, but focusing more on more breath work, more meditative practices that will bring about that balance of hormones inside the body. So this is how you focus on bringing about balance with your exercising in your perimenopausal years, in your 40s and 50s, by designing your exercising in a way which is a balance of rest and activity coming in together. Now, so this is the next aspect that you need to look into when you think of exercising in your 40s and 50s. Another thing that you should be very closely focusing on in your 30s and 40s is for sure to focus on your nervous system. Now, nervous system is one system. If it is disturbed, it's going to disturb everything else inside the body, and especially in your 40s and 50s, it's your nervous system that will keep imparting you the energy to be able to deal with what's happening in those years with you. So too much of an activity disturbs the nervous system, and that's why bringing down some slow down practices, staying in hatha yoga practices, more in hatha yoga practices, staying more in yin and restorative yoga practices is very important. Focusing more on breath work is very important in those specific years to keep your nervous system balanced, to not to over agitate your nervous system. And one last thing that you should be focusing on in your 40s and 50s from the exercising perspective is for sure to focus on maintaining the health of your internal organs. Now, when we are exercising, we are more extrovert. We are just looking at our body. We are looking at our physical structure. We are not thinking that which kind of an exercise might be impacting which of our internal organs deeply. For example, if you are doing a lot of heat oriented practices, like too much of a gymming if you're doing, and which is creating a lot of heat, a lot of sweating in the body. Now, too much of a sweating can really start to weaken up your internal organs. It will start to build up more lethargy in your internal organs. So you really need to slow down. So your approach to look at your exercising should or must change in your 40s and 50s, where when you're exercising, you should think your internal organs first and your muscles second. So now this is a very dedicated, a very different kind of an approach, and you need some expert who understands what kind of exercises can really help your internal organs. But in a very generic way, what you can definitely think of is yoga practices, specific yoga practices which are meant for specific internal organs, which are meant for nourishing specific internal organs. For example, you can divide your yoga practice in different organ system forms. Like one day you can practice yoga for your respiratory system, where you're working on your lungs, where you're working on your heart health. Another day you can divide your exercising pattern into maybe working on your digestive organs, abdominal organs, and then doing more of abdominal work with your yoga practice. The other day you can focus something on maybe working on your adrenals and kidneys, so you're focusing more on back bends and working on practices that really nourish your kidneys and adrenals. So this is the kind of approach that you need to really stay in a zone of anti-aging along with healthy, maintaining your muscle mass, maintaining your appearance, maintaining your health in your 40s and 50s, rather than just doing anything and everything from the exercising perspective in those years. Okay, so yeah, this is what I had to share with you today. And if you're really interested or keen on knowing or learning more about it, you can anytime feel free to DM me about my hormonal yoga classes, which this is what I teach in my hormonal yoga as well, how to go about working on your system in a way that doesn't tax or tire your system, and you're working on your hormones deeply, so you can automatically maintain your health, maintain your appearance, maintain your beauty from the inside out in your perimenopausal and menopausal years. Thank you.